Video by Dr. K again. Your success is unprocessed trauma. Your success was unprocessed trauma.
And I know that a lot of people say, well, I ain't doing...
There's actually a point to be made here where, like, it feels like the notion as to why, like, the idea of creativity, I think it has a lot to do with your willingness to go places perhaps that other people won't, right? You know, why did Columbus discover America and not other people? Well, it's because he was willing to travel there. And I think that bravery or that willingness to go places other people won't, I think a lot of creativity has to do with location. It's not so much something we just produce spontaneously. It's literally you go somewhere and you discover a perspective that not a lot of people have, or you discover something that a lot of people haven't discovered, right? That's what I think kind of lends itself to that, or is the essence of it, perhaps. All right.
Life. I'm doing nothing every day. You're not doing nothing. You're not sitting there staring at a blank wall. You're doing lots of technology, which you amount as nothing, but it's not nothing. You're intellectually engaged constantly. You're constantly motivated to do things that are non-productive, but you're still doing a lot. I got bullied a lot.
Yeah, it's true. A lot of people do it. Yeah, if you took all the energy that goes into Twitter every day and put it into something productive, maybe that... Never mind.
Playing video games, there was a part of me that got punished for getting excited about this. And what you will find by people who have a lot of insecurities early on in their lives, they were punished by excitement and curiosity. The truth of the matter, the sad truth of the matter, is that human...
Okay. This is completely unrelated to this, but I had a theory about this type of thing. I'm going to call it clown making instead of king making. Like, it'd be like clown making as opposed to king making, right? The notion that in theory you could take someone like, well, on the left you could take like Hassan Piker, or the weird kind of pretty princess yet fakes ghetto coded Jasmine Crockett. That's on the right you could take someone like Candace Owens or Nick Fuentes. And in theory, you could effectively popularize the worst sorts of individuals from the opposing party to make the opposing party look bad. You're effectively like astroturfing idiocy. I feel like this has to be a thing, right? It has to be a thing that people have done. If I were some sort of dastardly political maneuver, I feel like that would be one of the first things that would occur to me. Yeah, let's make this idiot over here look great. For the record, there's actually kind of a little bit of a dangerous game to play, though, because if you misestimate the problems involved or the population involved, you could very easily do too good a job at popularizing them. Anyways.
Beings as organisms are driven by trauma and insecurity. I was motivated by trauma and insecurity. Getting better through therapy vanished my motivation.
I'm gonna have to switch where I think he keeps putting this picture there. Alright. Now, hopefully he doesn't switch it.
Help. Recently, I've been doing lots of development inside myself, really focusing on therapy, shadow work, etc. From this inside work, I resolved a wound that kept me trying to...
I don't know if that's necessarily a bad thing. Like, you should never let ambition go to waste, but I think it can certainly be a good thing if you allow for some sort of more stable ambition to fall into place. Something that's not just like trauma-based, or something that won't be resolved and leave you kind of stranded. Something that's more reliable.
Prove myself to others and majorly to myself. After this, my motivation to achieve things really disappeared. I do feel a lot better now, but my motivation to strive is gone. I never had an adult with healthy motivation to mirror and learn from. How can I start to burn other fuels to motivate myself? This is an emotional question.
There's a notion that it feels like to some extent healthy motivation is a prerequisite for like healthy behavior. Like as fruit of the poisonous tree. Like I don't know to what extent you can use something like just I want to be better than everyone else and not have it go, you know, very wrong perhaps in some regard.
not a rational one. I do know that there are lots of things worth doing and striving in this world. I just can't feel them.
It feels like it would tend in that direction in a case, right? It's the entire premise of integrity is that like a person with integrity will be good anywhere, anytime, any place, right? It's not dependent on, oh, someone's watching me, therefore I'll be good, right? They would do that anywhere. If a person is prideful, if they care about what other people think, they will do good things a lot of the time. But when there's no one around, when they can get away with it, when there's some sort of loophole, they will do that. And consequently, their behaviors are not reliable. They're doing the right thing, but for the wrong reason, and consequently, it's different, right?
Self. How can I become more sensitive to this new fuels for achieving? So I used to be motivated by insecurity, and I went to therapy, and I dealt with my insecurities, and now I don't feel like doing anything. So my wife tells me, oh, look, you should make a video about all these high performers you work with. Like, what do they do that other people don't? So I do some executive coaching, which means I'll work with CEOs, entrepreneurs, people like that. But the reason I was reluctant is, like, honestly, what separates most of the top performers from the rest of us is that they were traumatized in the right way. So I want to tell you all the story about a client of mine. Client is second generation.
Yeah, it's true that it feels like people who are quite successful would probably tend to be deviant in some regard. Hence the success, like hence the fact that they stand out in some regard just by dint of being successful. They are abnormal.
So parents migrated from a developing country. Dad worked really hard, became incredibly successful, went from 0 to $32 million over the course of about, let's say, 25 to 35 years of work. So after about 30 years in the workforce, they started from scratch and had a net worth of about $32 million. So as this person who came from nothing started to become more successful and started rubbing shoulders with other people who were more successful, they entered the world of the elites, right? So they became successful, and they didn't go to Harvard, but they sure as hell started going to dinner with people who went to Harvard and Stanford and went this place and that place and all these prestigious institutions.
I feel like maybe one of the worst things you could, I guess I don't know about this. Again, not my area of expertise, but I feel like one of the worst things you could do about this type of thing is associate, like, one of the worst things you could do for your family, perhaps, at least, is put yourself in a scenario where you associate exclusively with other rich people. Like, making friends with other rich people and creating this type of, like, weird feedback loop with your kids, where your kids are raised in this environment.
And people who have vacation homes.
Only pretty much associate with these types of people. It almost like, I don't know. It feels like there's an unhealthy type of incestuous thing that would go on there. And there's a reason why, like, most family fortunes, I don't even think most of them make them past, like, the second generation. I think it's like 70% maybe by the second and 90% by the third. I'm not sure. You'd have to look up the actual statistics on that.
And yachts. So as this person entered this world, as the dad entered the world, they started to become a little bit more narcissistic. Maybe they were a little bit sociopathic to begin with. And so it became really important, right? So they started entering this world of, like, children as trophies, and everyone is comparing. And so they started to really pressure their kids. You got to be the best. You got to do it the right way. This is the way successful people do it. We're not going to be these scrubs. We don't care about compassion or doing good in the world. You got to be the best. You got to be the best. You got to be the best. And this is where there's another thing that I think really separates out the right trauma from the wrong trauma, which is that parents who are hypervigilant, parents who are always up in their kids' business, parents who don't let their children get away with relaxation. Those are the kids that are the most messed up. So the really sad thing is that one of the, I think, top 3 or top 5 videos in the depression guide is of
Oh, and there's this element too that I think poverty itself can breed a type of brutality almost, where you'll have people who effectively, like, they came from nothing, and it's like they were kind of in a dog-eat-dog world, and if they bring that mentality into kind of like, I don't, it's understandable and yet not ideal, perhaps.
video about conditional love. Basically, like, we talk about unconditional love, but for many people I've worked with who are depressed, this is a good example of this person. The reason they're depressed is because they grew up with conditional love. I'll only love you if you ... Their whole sense of self is about performance. So if I achieve, then I am worthy of love. And they'll go their whole lives trying to make their dad happy, trying to make their dad proud. If y'all want to know what separates high performers from people who are not high performers, a big chunk of them, and there's a selection bias here because a lot of high performers are loved by their parents. Arguably, I'm one of them. My parents certainly loved me, and I guess I'm doing okay now. But honestly, if y'all want to know, a big part of it is parents who don't love their kids. Dads and moms who say, if you want my love, if you want my respect, I want to be able to show you off to all of my friends. This is all coded, right? It's not...
Well, this goes back to what I was saying in the other segment here. It feels like there's a point to be made where you can want to do the right thing. You can want to be better for some, like, advantageous reason. But if you get locked into this notion of being better for other people, it feels like this thing of avarice and an insatiable desire that will never be fulfilled. It will never be enough that you did blank. You'll always have to do more and more and more, and you will never be content with what you're doing, or what you've accomplished, rather.
Super explicit, right? That's what really causes people to achieve. And I want y'all to look at some people with very public profiles, we won't name names, who are very successful. How psychologically
No,
happy do you think these people are? Are these people content?
Gaza is at a tipping point. The adults who...
Peaceful? Is $1 billion enough? Is $100 billion enough? Is $20 billion enough? Do people need even more money? Hey y'all, if you're interested in applying some of the principles that we share to actually create change in your life, check out Dr. K's Guide to Mental Health. So this is a guide that explores this process. How does experience shape us as human beings? Trauma is all about walling off or suppressing things that are overwhelming. They cannot control their emotions, so their emotions control them. So check out the link in the bio and start your journey today. The truth of the matter, the sad, sad, sad truth of the matter, is that human beings as organisms are driven by trauma and insecurity. Literally, the way we're wired is to be driven by this stuff. There's a really simple way to understand this. Why do negative emotions feel so bad? If you ask me my opinion, I would say shame is the most painful emotion. Now, I haven't had crippling depression in the way that some of my patients have, so arguably theirs is worse. But if you think of...
To be fair, people have been... Like, there are plenty of people who've K-worded themselves because of shame. So I'm not going to stand here and say that it's not a very powerful thing.
About why is shame so damn painful, right? So our negative emotions hurt so much because they're designed to induce behavior. The number of times I got bullied in my school and was like, never again. The shame that I felt was so profound. I wanted to change. I wanted to be a different person. I wanted to show them. I wanted to work so hard. Our negative emotions are very powerful motivators. They're the most powerful motivators that we have. And there are many times, if you guys have seen some of the interviews that we do, you know, sometimes I'll ask people towards the end of an interview when they come in with a problem, and I'll be like, do you even want to change this? And the good ones, like good ones in the sense that, like, the honest people, will be like, no, I actually don't. I came to you with this problem. I don't even want to change it because this is the problem that keeps me going. This is the problem that pushes me to succeed. And so if you want to know why you can't solve your problems, the first question you should ask yourself is, what is this problem doing for me? And it's scary. It's so scary, the kinds of answers that you will get. The reason that I am hopeless, because if I have hope, I can try and I can fail. And if I fail, that'll hurt a lot, so I'd rather choose hopeless. I pick despair over hope.
Change is always... It feels like it's always difficult. It's almost like a really terrifying aspect to think that you can get yourself stuck in a mindset like that, where you literally just can't find your way out. It's like... that is unsettling in the extreme.
Because
the fact is, it doesn't even necessarily, in situations like that, it doesn't even necessarily matter if there is like an objective way out. The fact that you think there is no way out makes it's like you won't even try. And you're kind of dependent on someone else or Deus Ex Machina to come along and kick you in the ass and get you to try something different or to fix what you're doing. Again, it is an extremely unsettling type of proposition.
Protects me more. So if you're someone who has been driven by negative emotions, by insecurity, I want to be someone, I'm tired of being this pathetic person, I'm going to turn myself into someone, and then you find that you have healed that wound, oh no, now your motivation is gone. What do? So there are a couple of really good things. You have a lot of good stuff ahead of you. The first is to understand time. This is a huge, huge, huge problem that I see anytime I get questions, anytime people post on the internet. You will notice there is an absence of quantification. No one thinks in terms of numbers. So people will say, I tried therapy. And my question is, how long? No one ever says that. I've tried therapy.
Numbers hurt my head.
3 times.
To be fair, literally sometimes math, it's not my thing. It's not feels like it's not the way my brain works well. In any case, it's not my niche. It's not my strong suit.
How long? What modalities? This doesn't work. I put myself out there and it didn't work. How many times? For how long? So anytime we're talking about solving problems, and the advice that we get on the internet, there's no temporal quality. People don't say you should do this for this amount of time. So the first thing is when you solve your motivational problem, let's say like you heal yourself and you have no motivation, there is absolutely a lag period. This is the first thing to know. I would say it's somewhere between 3 months and a year on average. So I don't know if this makes sense. Your body doesn't create a new system while another one works. You have to fix one thing, and then there is a need, and then your body makes the alternate system. It doesn't plan ahead. It's just now that this motivational system is gone, other motivational systems will start to grow. And a really good example of this is if you look at the research on people who go through a quarter life crisis or a midlife crisis, they have this particular period where they have to check out. So I don't like this life. I'm going to remove myself from this life, and then I will make a new life. But that period of limbo is actually developmentally necessary. There must be an intentional or even physical removal from the situation. Either you need to mentally check out or you need to physically move yourself out of this, the space. Necessary. So you have to have a limbo period. That's the first thing to understand. There's nothing wrong with you. If you healed your trauma and you're like, now what? Absolutely. Because for many, many years, you've been motivated by this system, and now that the system is gone, you don't know what to do. It's normal. The good news is that this is when other things will start to rise. So
that's the phrase, nature hates a vacuum.
Your body, your brain, your mind is naturally designed to create motivation, right? So I want y'all to look at how hard people have to try to be still. A good example of this is I had a conversation with Stephen Bartlett. I think it was on his podcast, where the thought of being still and relaxing is like terrifying to him. Most human beings have a lot of difficulty being still. And I know that...
I don't know if I do, but maybe that's more just a laziness thing.
A lot of people say, well, I ain't doing shit in life. I'm doing nothing every day. You're not doing nothing. You're not sitting there staring at a blank wall. You're doing lots of technology, which you amount as nothing, but it's not nothing. You're intellectually engaged constantly. You're constantly motivated to do things that are non-productive, but you're still doing a lot. So the key thing...
Oh, I remember what I was going to say, but it does feel like he was talking about this before, but like it feels like... Actually, maybe I got this from one of his videos. It might not have been on this one. But he was talking about the notion of how our brain almost has cycles that it goes on. As like a standard like thing that it goes through, where you almost have to, like, in order to get your brain like fully out of one way of thinking, like the thoughts that you're thinking will almost come around again, if that makes sense. Like I don't know how to explain it. That does feel kind of the way, though. Like you literally you'll be thinking about things. He was mentioning that, like, the idea was if you deprive yourself of something you want for long enough, that desire will become less. But I do feel like, though, that desire will come around again, and you'll have to deal with it again at some point. right? It's like it's kind of, I don't know if it's on a kind of almost a codified sort of cyclical thing. Wow, that made so much sense. I can't even believe it. I am quite.
Here is that the positive motivators are not as evolutionary potent as the negative motivators. Curiosity gets drowned out by anxiety every day of the week. A drive to create, creativity, gets squashed by shame every day of the week. And so once you enter this period of healing, there will be a feeling of no motivation, but the creativity is there, the curiosity is there, the joy for life and to experience, all that stuff is subtle. So in the yogic system, there's a huge...
All right. It's a good way to end it. If you want to be creative, be brave. All right. If you want to be original, be brave. Tell people the truth. You might enjoy it. That doesn't mean be a jackass, okay? But I do feel like, though, that actually telling the truth can. It's habit forming. You do it, you start to like it.